RuggaMatrix International is brought to you by Strike. Check out their fleet tracking system. It will save you hundreds of dollars per month. Go to strike.com.au. RuggaMatrix International is also brought to you by mybean.com.au. Coffee delivered straight from the roaster to guarantee the freshest brew. You won't pay any more at mybean.com.au. We sell at roasters' prices. Hello and welcome to RuggaMatrix International. Giro Senior host and early morning recording for me, and it's well and truly worth it because we catch up once again with our super coach from Ireland, assistant coach of Ireland, who was also head coach for a time, and it's none other than Les Kiss, the man with all the answers. Kissy, you're looking wonderful in HD over my shoulder in Skype. Look at that, you're just a picture.
Geez, you can improve these looks, can you, mate? That's handy. Look, nice to be back on. I've had a bit of a break, and yeah, it doesn't take long, but the season's back on top of us here, and we've been enjoying a line series since, and also the Rugby Championship. So there's been plenty of rugby, even though it's been downtime in the Northern Hemisphere here.
All right, competition's about to start there, of course, Les. The Rabo, interesting development there with Rabo pulling out of their sponsorship at the end of this season. So with the coverage changing there with Sky, they'll need to get another sponsor on board, but I think they'll be pretty confident about that, Les.
Yeah, I think so. The competition is, going from strength to strength each year. It's, putting up quality games, and it's starting to really, show, the depth of talent in the competition, and I think they'll have no problems truly going forward in terms of putting a name on that competition, because it's just getting better and better, that's for sure.
All right, let's hope that Ireland keeps getting better and better, and the draw for you guys for the World Cup in 2015 means you have Canada in your group, which is great to hear, because I thought we'd mention that off the top of the show, because Canadian friends, big listeners to RuggaMatrix America, and they managed to pip the American side in their World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah, look, it was interesting. When we went over, we had a close tussle against the USA. It was only 3 points in it, but we got a handy result in the end against the Canadians. But I think USA have only beaten Canada, twice in the last 7 or 8 games. I could be quite wrong there, but I know it hasn't been the best of records. So a lot of people are saying that Canada would get through. I really felt for Mike Tolkien. He's a good bloke, and I know he's put his heart and soul into USA Rugby there, and they have to go through a qualifying process now with Uruguay, I think, someone like that, to make the World Cup. But I'm pretty sure they'll get there. But full marks to Canada. Their rugby program's going well, and it certainly makes our pool a tough pool with France and Italy in there as well.
Yes, certainly, Les. We'll talk a bit more about your situation at the moment with the Rabo. I'm really intrigued about how things have been going, because it has been quite a while. But first, let's talk about the Rugby Championship. And our good mate, Ewan McKenzie, first of all, we're happy to hear the news that he got the coaching gig after Robbie Deans.
Yeah, look, great news, I thought. And, there was a lot of innuendo about how that would end up. Would Robbie keep his job? But it seemed like the wheels were in motion towards the end of the line series, and Link was always going to be the man. I think it was the right decision. Australia are always a dangerous rugby side, and I think what we'll see over the next 12 months, they'll become even more dangerous. Link will bring his own touches to it and his own style to the whole Wallaby setup, and I think we'll definitely see some really big things from the Wallabies, and I just hope it doesn't come too soon, because we play them in November, and it's going to be a cracker, actually. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, we can't wait, Les. It's going to be enormous. But the gulf between the All Blacks and a lot of teams is huge. Look, I've been doing a lot of chats recently with a lot of media, and one of the games I keep referring to is the match that you played against them, the second test, and the amount of pressure you were able to exert. And Les, you came so close to winning that test match, and Ewan's done all the right stuff. He's talked about exerting pressure on the All Blacks, but just when you think they are able to do it, it all falls apart, and they score against a break of play, against a run of play, and they get away with the victory, and they end up running away with it. And I mean, you've experienced it firsthand. It is a lot harder to do than people think.
Absolutely, and you know, we had a 3-match series against them, and at the end of the season, it was quite a tough process for us. But that second match, we did play them in Christchurch. Yeah, we learnt from the first test against them, where they put a few points on us, and we got close in that one. And it was about pressure, you know, in 2 ways. It was just relentlessly getting into their face and into their space and making them play quicker than they'd like to. But it was also pressure at the breakdown and being smart in that area. And it's certainly an area that Ireland are very good at when they get it right. So we had a chance in that game. But the biggest thing in that game is whenever there was a turnover or a kick return or a break in play, we organised our defence very quickly and could shore up the edges very quickly, because that's when they're most dangerous. And we saw that a number of times in the last 2 tests against the Wallabies, in broken play, one small error by your team, you know, a bounce at the ball and they swoop in. Before you know it, you can be under the goalpost. And I've got to say, the 2 tries that they scored were the most beautiful things I've seen in terms of try scoring in recent times, with blacks and forwards linking and putting their hands together and passes together to score. And to score those 2 tries was brilliant. But the previous game, you could see that they're lethal. They're absolutely lethal when it's loose ball, turnover ball, kick return ball. They are a lethal team.
Yeah, they're lethal, and you know, the stunning thing is that the return of Richie. This is, I love about the All Blacks, is their ability to manage their players, and they gave Richie a bit of a rest. I saw him firsthand, close up, took a few photos of him during the Sydney Test, and he was definitely sucking in the big ones. But Les, the guy's all class, and for him to come back in and play so well, and given the fact that they're down to like 4th or 5th choice fly half, is extraordinary.
Extraordinary, and each of the fly halves have done well. To tell you the truth, you know, you went back to the World Cup. I think they struggled a little bit with their fly halves, you know, backing up Carter. But as is the New Zealand way, the All Black way, they addressed that issue over the last 12, 18 months, and you know, each of the fly halves that have stepped in, Cruden's really improved out of sight. You know, I thought Tom Taylor did a terrific job in the weekend and didn't overplay his hand, but you know, did what he had to do and pushed the game around nicely for the All Blacks. So despite the injuries, they've had Messam out, which was a pretty big blow for him. He's been a fairly influential player for the Chiefs and also for the All Blacks recently. But you get your man coming in and taking over that jumper and doing a fantastic job with the try set up in the weekend. So, you know, they've always been a team that have depth, but their depth teams, as it comes in and replaces, seems to be more effective than ever at the moment. And it's a scary prospect overall. And, you know, that's another team we've got to meet in November. So it's a really interesting series that we're watching from our perspective at the moment.
Les, I know that Greg Gradden was keen to tweet the wonderful shot of you when wearing the Kangaroos outfit at North Sydney Oval. It's a photo on the wall of the mighty North Rugby League club in Sydney.
Oh, that's true.
If you go past there, go there and bow before it, please. And here's a quick shot of it right now. There it is.
That's a black and white photo, is it?
No, it's all colour. I didn't nickname you Harry High Pants though, because they are registered. You're a very stunning figure, Les, in that Kangaroos outfit.
Yeah. That was the style those days. So did I have a really slick back hair then, did I?
Yeah, it was a bit darker anyway. Hey, I decided to shave mine off anyway. So, but we're slaves to fashions, or slave to fashions. We are a slave to fashion.
In the 80s we were, mate, and it was terrible. But anyway, we got over it.
Everyone's dressing like the 80s now. But Les, it was a wonderful picture. But, you know, Greg and everyone else is saying, where's Les? We wish he was our defence coach now. Now, Ewan doesn't have a dedicated defence coach. And, in fact, like Robbie Deans did the whole lot himself. And I reckon this is a great example where Australia's let it sort of die on the vine a bit. They haven't been able to give the attention to defence it needs. And you know it, being a defence coach who's now evolved into a full-blown head coach. in waiting and assistant coach with Ireland. But I think would you have to agree with me that Les needs a full-time defence coach. He's got Nick Scrivener there at the moment, but he's just basically in a transitional role while they make the changes from Robbie to Ewan, but don't have a world-class defence coach, and it's really important.
Well, I think it's the game has moved to a place over the last 5 or 10 years where defence is recognised as 50% of the game, whether it's set piece defence, scrum defence, and off those there's phase defence or starter defence and phase defence. There's kick chase, there's turnover defence. There's so many areas of the game in defence in general movement that are necessary to cover. And then you have the tackle contest, and you have the attacking tackle contest, and you have the defensive tackle contest. So it's not a part-time job, that's for sure. You need someone within your coaching setup that is dedicated to doing the work in that area and ensuring that you've got your bases covered. Yes, it is vital. It's very important. You could imagine if you didn't go into a game or into a season or in a coaching structure, didn't have a forwards coach, it just wouldn't make sense. It's become a very important part of the game, and I think it's something that Link will be looking at. Look, I know Nick well. I think he could do a great job at it actually, and I'd imagine that he'd be in the running for it as well. Nick Scrivener, that is, but Ewan's got, I think, for the rest of the year to sort that out and make some decisions, and I'm pretty sure he'll do something in that area anyway.
It's an interesting point you make. It's something you can't fudge at this level anymore, is it, Les? And I think this is the other thing. If the Wallabies had a better defensive structure, and I think it's a structure to start with, and because the attitude's pretty good, but because we saw James O'Connor go into wing, and he plays all right in attack, but geez, he comes in a lot and has caused a lot of trouble for Australia as a result. Tries being scored. The discipline to stay on your tram tracks, the discipline to maintain that focus and defence, it's a real state of mind, and you only really get that through a lot of drills and repetition of what you have to do when it comes to defending your line or turning around quickly and defending your line, as you talked about.
Yeah, the elements of rugby demand that the attention is given to the right area, the right message, and a consistent message about how you operate, in all elements of the game. And defence is equally as important as attack. You need to stop them as well as score them. So you need to have those bases covered. Now that within a coaching setup, that can be done in a number of ways, but you need someone in your coaching group that has that as their remit. They have to be the person that is accountable for delivering the defensive plan, and I think it's wise to have a coaching group that does have someone that does cover that. Now he may also cover another element of the game, whether it be restarts or specialises in some other area, but you do need someone that can dedicate a little bit of time to the analysis that's involved in defence play and analysing opposition attacks, etc. But also working with individuals on a regular basis. And at international level, Bronk, it's a bigger picture. You don't just have a club where you've got 30 to 40 players. You're working with a national setup. You're looking at each club. In the vicinity of 80 to, depending on which country, 80 to 120 to 150 players that you're assessing all the time and trying to ascertain who has the best technique in terms of the tackle area, and keeping an eye on that all the time. So it's not something that you can cover easily. If it's a part-time situation, you need someone that has some form of dedication to it, I believe.
Yeah, good, absolutely good point. But it also enables you to build pressure. You can be quite offensive in that, and I think you were able to do that against the All Blacks in that second test we talked about before. And at times Australia have done that, but it's just let them down because the cut and finish isn't there that a dedicated coach would give you.
Yeah, look, I think Link will find the right mix what he needs to do there, and each coach will have a different view in it. And I'm pretty sure that however he sets it up, he'll have someone who will have some responsibility in that area, or take that chunk of work and and necessary analysis that's required in that area. I also like to, to mention that it's not just about defence in terms of a negative sense. It's about being able to do what you say, use your defence and build a defensive strategy that can apply pressure as much as possible, because in this game, if you can apply pressure and force the type of a game that you want and get turnovers and force the opposition to make poor decisions in their own half and control possession and position of the field, then you're giving yourself a better chance to actually do a job and get the wins that you need. So, it's something that does need to be addressed, and I'm pretty sure Link will come up with the combination that he needs to do it. It's not something that I'm looking forward to really, because I know that the Wallabies will improve year on with Link there. He'll put some things together that'll make him a dangerous prospect going right through the World Cup. But first things first, we'll face them for our second test this year. We've got Samoa first, so that won't be easy. And then we play the Wallabies and then the All Blacks. And by the time we do play the Wallabies, Link would have had them for about 6 or 7 tests. So I think they're just going to get more dangerous.
Absolutely. Just a quick tuition then. So how would you fix James O'Connor now, who's really good in attack, and we've seen that, and I reckon in a good position. I prefer him where he is now on the wing.
Yep.
But how do you stop a player from naturally gravitating further in field and peeling off that wing, which has been critical? It really hurt Australia.
Yeah, well, you've got to build an understanding of what the role is, and then build two things probably: an effective way of practicing it to build the right habit, the right habits in those stressful situations, because you're on that position, you're stressed, you feel like you're not going to get the cover you need to, and you react in a way that takes yourself out of the game and offers a channel on the outside, which is what has happened a few times. So you've got to work or formulate a way to practice that in your training sessions. The other way is to also to provide effective feedback when he's playing the game. And if he is to become better at that position, he probably should play that position more often in provincial rugby. Now that's a difficult thing, because sometimes someone of James
O'Connor's, doesn't have a province, mate. That's
well, that's one problem. But he's also, because he's so good, he can play a number of positions, and maybe doesn't get the regular practice work that he does need to defend on that left wing. And left wing's it's one of the specialist positions in the back three that you just need to have the right player there in terms of. A lot of elements, most of rugby has right foot kickers, and that left side's a really important channel. You have to defend going forward and back, and knowing how to defend deep and defend shallow or defend midfield, just so you can cover and close off kicking option, kicking angles, etc. But it is also necessary for players to actually play there regularly, so they can feel the types of stresses they will be under and be able to form the right types of responses to that in terms of their technical work, its defensive shape, and working with inside defenders to be able to close off the opportunities. It's one of the givens in rugby is defence is the sideline is your best friend. It's your best defender, and sometimes you just got to work your shape to be able to use that better. And those things don't happen without practice and without understanding and good effective feedback. So I'm sure those things will be addressed. He's a smart footballer. He's a great footballer. He looked extremely dangerous once there in the game. I thought he was going to really set up a nice try for the Wallabies there against the All Blacks. So I'm sure he'll improve. He's just an exceptional footballer, and he'll get it right.
And you raise an interesting point here, and this is the thing that many coaches struggle to grapple with. And Les, it's the question about using a player who can play several positions and not being able to settle on one position that he's really, really good at. And I think you have to sort of see past the temptation with James O'Connor and say, yeah, look, he's exciting us here in close at 12 and maybe 10, but make him even better at 11, because I think you get the maximum benefit rather than throwing him into that busy channel where it takes a special kind of player to run a game. It's a difficult question. I don't know if many coaches can solve it, but you've obviously had to come across it too with players who can play different positions. you know, the one thing, the frustrating thing for Australian people who are looking for players that could make a World 15 player is that we hardly got any contenders at the moment. I mean, Will Genia is often put up as the number 9, but mate, he's not playing well at all. So, and you don't want to play him at fullback and back to 9 or whatever else. I mean, it's a difficult question. I mean, when you approach a player who can play a number of positions, what do you say?
Look, it is a dilemma, but I think I look at it as a really positive dilemma. If those two words can be put together,
well,
I'm not
this
sure.
is a dilemma gets misused all the time. It's the choice between two equally ordinary or very, very, very unsavoury options.
Yeah. Well, the actual, probably the point I'm trying to say is, it's an asset to have a player that has an adaptability and is flexible enough to be able to be very proficient and competent in a number of positions. Without a doubt, it's like a player who can kick off both feet and step off both feet, carry the ball in two hands, is a better and is an equal physical ability of another player, is better than that player if he can only carry in one hand, he can only step off the left, and he can't kick at all. He can only kick off one leg. If you've got extra skill sets that you can expand, then you're going to be better. So if you've got a player that can actually play other positions, it is an asset, particularly in a couple of areas. One would be in forms of analysis. And it is a headache when you analyse Australia. You could actually sit there and say, what team will they pick? And they could pick a number of combinations that you have to prepare for in terms of a defence coach, for example. And each combination will have its own headaches and own variables that you have to prepare for. So having players that can work in different positions, it can be a great asset. But the downside of that is if they don't play there well often enough and consistently enough and build a bit of continuity and rhythm, it doesn't flow as much as you would like. So that's one of the areas I find it difficult to coach against teams that have players that can play different positions. You're always trying to cover every angle, and it's difficult. But the other part is during a game, it's really handy if not only your bench but also players in your starting team that can actually move position. It's a really, really handy thing to have, and it can change the thrust of your game and how you position yourself in your game, and change the shape of your attack, etc. Being able to move players around, and I've always thought it's one of the great assets that Australian rugby have, but there has to be a part that you have to give him enough time and position to be able to be competent and reliable in one position, and then knowing that he can cover other positions as well. So the dilemma is there, but I think there are some positives around having players that are very flexible and adaptable in where they can play on the pitch.
Yeah, good point, Les. It's a bit like being a cricketer all-rounder, and you're either a bowler or batsman first. You know, you specialise in one a little bit better than the other. That's very rare that you have someone who's equally as good as a bowler as they are a batsman, given the Ashes. Let's not talk about the Ashes, okay?
Oh, yeah, you're just...
Let's not talk about the Ashes. Let's not talk about the Lions series. Oh, the Bledisloe Cup. Les, I'm glad you're Irish now.
I've had the the benefit here to watch the cricket during the day when I'm not working, and in the weekends I've seen as much as I can, and it's it's been disappointing without a doubt. The Pommies have done a job on us, but look, the good thing about it, there's not long to wait before we have another cut at them, and hopefully on home soil we can do the job, and I'm sure we will, the boys. We all love our cricket in Australia. It's probably our first love, really, ultimately. And I have full faith that the boys will really come back and do a good job in Australia.
Let's hope so. Yeah, changing coach there too, and selections have always been a bit of a debacle. But anyway, let's move on. It's not the cricket show, but maybe that should be the next one. A couple of quick questions about the Rugby Championship before we take a quick break, and then ask you about what's happening in your neck of the woods. Your thoughts on it overall? Interesting to see the new scrum. I was going to say scum, but it's, in some way, many might see
some might describe it like that.
Scummy engagement rules for the test series that we've just had or are going through, and a bit messy, but I think we're in the right place. I mean, we've had some pretty heavy-hitting guests on this program before, Les, that have said the hit is the one thing that brings the scrum down time after time. And if you look at the physics, it just makes sense. So to lessen the hit is a good thing, and it really brings back the art of scrummaging.
Yeah, look, I think it's definitely moved in the right direction, but there's been probably some results that you just wish you're just wondering where it's going to end up over the next 6 months, and I hope it does improve quickly. I'm not trying to be negative on it. I just think that we got to make sure that there is some consistencies in certain area about how it's put together in terms of building the scrum and getting it to that point, and making sure that we do get a platform that is reliable and also competitive. Because you don't want it to just be like a rugby league scrum. You want something that can actually benefit a good scrum, but also give you a chance to be able to fight back and hold a scrum where you need to get the ball at the back and get backs against backs. So I think it's going to go in the right position, right direction for sure. At the moment, though, a few little concerns. The scrum seems to, when it finally sets, there seems to be a bit of swimming, and people are still finding, second rowers are finding what their best position is in the reality of Test rugby when they're very tired and keeping that shape in the scrum. And it does sort of swim a bit, the scrum, if that makes sense. It's not a rock solid thing all the time. I also think the scrum feed, we want the scrum feed to be as straight as possible, but to just have a guide rule on it and have it so strict that you got no room for movement, it's going to be a difficult thing to really keep an eye on that totally. You have to have some form of common sense about the feed, and particularly if the scrum does move on a slight angle like that, is the feed, it may look crooked at the feed sometimes. So there's little elements that they'll have to get on top of for sure. And I'm no scrum expert, but we've got people here talking about it regularly, and I know that the IRB and the referees are trying their best to put together a plan that can address and get in front of any issues and get it to a point where there's a consistency in it. Because if it gets there, I think we'll see some great attacking rugby. Even though I'm a defence coach, and primarily you like to have good attacking rugby and good opportunities to be able to attack, and when you do have scrum on scrum and the flankers have to stay on a little bit longer, and there's cleaner ball and you can launch an attack, it's a great thing to have. And it is also defensively a great thing to be challenging yourself to be able to close down great attacks. That's what it's about. One set of the game competing against the other element of the game, attack versus defence, and see which one comes up best. And if we can create more of those great opportunities, then all the better, I think.
And there's just the last one about what you can expect, or what your thoughts have been of the Rugby Championship. South Africa smashed Argentina the first game by about 70 points. And then the return game, I really thought Argentina were going to beat them. So that was pretty tight in the end, a good comeback. As Ewan said after the first game against the All Blacks, you can turn these things around, 70-point results, and that almost happened. Australia fought hard, but were ultimately beaten in both games by the better team. But we did see some improvement. But there is a big gulf between New Zealand and everyone else. Your thoughts on the quality of play? Anything outstanding so far, or did you think it was all rubbish?
Look, no, it's been interesting. Obviously, we're looking at it closely from everyone in the Northern Hemisphere watching it closely, because the teams will be travelling north and here in the autumn, and they're important test matches for the northern nations here, for the home nations, France, Italy. So we're all watching it with interest. I've been really impressed with it, particularly the Wallaby All Black games. I know Australia were out of it, but we're out of the first game. New Zealand were impeccable in how they went about their business. They did a fantastic job. Certainly, Link would have been disappointed with how it went, but it's Test rugby, and they have to get back on the horse. And Link's right; you can change these things around quickly, and the Argentines prove that. But the style of rugby that's been played, I think Australia have tried to be ambitious. I think they've tried to really, find another element in their attacking arsenal that work in New Zealand over in a slightly different way. I thought you could see what they were trying to work to. I think the All Blacks have been sublime. The two tries they scored in the recent tests were absolutely beautiful, and their lethalness off loose balls, as I said earlier, has been something to watch. So I really enjoyed those games. Probably the other two have been more dour, or the second one was anyway, but it was just great to see how Argentina came back from what was a shellacking the week before and got back to that style of game that really is that makes them hard to play against and hard to beat. And I think South Africa drew with them last year in the corresponding fixture. So they like their home turf, and they're a difficult team to beat there. But I guess from the competition perspective, it was necessary to see that, and they turned it up there. So looking forward, I think it's going to be very interesting. I think the big one now is Australia and the Springboks. It's a huge match, and it certainly will shape the rest of the competition. That's for sure.
It certainly will. It is a fortress, Suncorp, particularly against South Africa. And I expect Australia to hit back in that game. There's no doubt about that. Probably Quade Cooper to start. And I'm not sure if he'll make a change to fullback, but I'd really like to see Israel Folau play at 15. But you never know what's going on behind the scenes there, because they're still waiting to find out whether he's going to stay in rugby. So there's a difficulty there.
Yeah, that's interesting. You'd like to keep him in the game, that's for sure. He's brilliant. He's unbelievable. And you talk to most of the players that come back from the Lions tour, or even the management that were there from the Irish setup, they're just sort of in awe of him. Really, he is a special athlete, a special player. He's got exceptional skill sets, and I hope he stays in the game. That's for sure. And look, there's one question that you just brought up before there, Bronk. Do you move him around all the time, or do you keep him in the same position and learn that? I think it'd be worth trying him at fullback for sure.
Well, he's been learning that all year.
Yeah, that's right. He's been there, and putting him in that position at Test rugby perhaps might be the go. But he's one player that wherever he was, he will be a headache for me come November. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think you're suggesting tight head prop or something.
Yeah, put him in there. Let's take it out of his legs early, I reckon.
All right. So we'll have a quick break and come back and talk all things Ireland, England, Lions, and Robo, and every other premiership you want to talk about. Strike GPS tracking is the most sophisticated tracking package on the market, capable of tracking single to thousands of vehicles. Strike customers have recorded savings of up to $150 per vehicle per month with the Strike tracking package. Inquire at strike.com.au or call 1300 792 044 to begin your cost-saving endeavour. Whether you're looking to increase productivity, raise OHS compliance, monitor driver behaviour, or provide security for your assets, Strike has a tracking solution for you. We always thank our sponsors, and in particular Strike, because if you go to that store, you'll get 10% off if you input the code RuggaMatrix. So get all your mobile phone accessories from strike.com.au. Great supporters of the game too. That's another important thing about Strike and their relationship with RuggaMatrix. Now, Kissy, Ireland. We spoke to Brian O'Driscoll just before he left. Obviously, they had a big party. Not as big as the England cricket team, of course, on the Oval. We won't go into that because that'll be just taking the piss. And they were very happy with the result. And gee, some of your blokes were impressive, mate. And Sean O'Brien, who stood up in that last test in Sydney, saw him up close, was a colossus.
Yeah, he was. I think he was critical in terms of what happened in that last game. I think if you cast your mind back, Bronk, to the World Cup, Sean O'Brien was one of the players in the tournament, really, up to when we got knocked out. He was a wrecking ball through that whole series, and he did give Australia a lot of grief, actually, in that World Cup match that we won there at Eden Park. He had a fantastic game that day. So, he is a special player, and I don't think we've seen the best of him yet, to tell you the truth, and he'll keep on improving. So he's an important player for Ireland, and hopefully we see more and better come November, because it's a pretty critical series for us in terms of three big teams that we're coming up against.
What was your overall opinion of the series? It's all done and dusted. Australia, again, I think we're just hanging in there, but That first test, Kurtley Beale kicks the goal. Different story going to Melbourne. You know, it was very tight after 2 tests.
Yeah, extremely tight. It was probably, you know, there's probably mixed feelings and opinions about it from you know the scribes here, the general person on the street, all stakeholders in the game. That, you know, maybe a bit lucky to get away for that first game. Yeah, that's the game. We've all been there, and Kurtley doesn't slip. He might put it over, and it does change the nature of the competition from there. But I think overall the feeling here was that the Lions did an exceptional job to take that game to where they did in the last one, and that it's certainly given you know, a real sense that the Lions is something that's still valid and relevant. I don't think it ever wasn't. I think it is always and will be for a long time. But I think people just wanted to see the Lions win a series, and to win it, I think, was important in a lot of people's eyes. And you know, it's certainly something that, you know, the boys that particularly the Irish boys who went away and they were part of a winning series. It was something special for them, that's for sure.
No doubt about it, Les, and they're now coming back to the system. Brian O'Driscoll got another year, obviously, with his province. He said that to us when he was about to depart. But it's all about to happen, isn't it? And so with the Rabo about to start, we mentioned at the head of the show about the sponsorship, but you know, there's a fair while to go there to sort it out. But it's still a pretty good product, and I guess you're going to be paying close attention to some of the teams.
Yeah, look, it's certainly heating up. We've got trials, one more week of friendlies, as they call them here, and the competition starts from there in earnest. It'll be interesting. You know, there's been a few changes around the edges. You know, a couple of new coaches in couple of different clubs. You know, who's the favourite at this stage? You know, the same old names will be thrown out there. I think a team to really watch closely this year will be Glasgow. I think they certainly put their hand up the previous year. They were brilliant. I thought they were one of the teams in the competition. Good night, mate. That's my son there. Sorry, guys. He's off the bed. Nice little interlude. Yeah, he's 6 inches taller than me now. So,
mate, he's a bit bigger than the last time I saw him.
Yeah. But I think Glasgow, will be a team to really be reckoned with again this year. You know, I think the way they played their rugby last year was physical and also had a lot of enterprise and ambition in their game. They had a wonderful attacking approach to the game and were a handful every time. So I think they're a team to watch. I think they finished third last year. So I think that we may see them in that top 2 this year. That's how well they're being regarded here. But along the other teams, I think you'll still see, you know, a lot of the teams like Ospreys will still be strong. Leinster, Munster and Ulster will certainly put their hand up. Connacht have a new coach in Pat Lamb, and I've got to take my hat off to Pat. He's been exceptional down at Connacht. He's doing a fantastic job, and really has a passion and for the game and for the Connacht region and for rugby in general. He's been a breath of fresh air. So I think we'll see some special things from this year as well.
Yeah, and you know, I was keen to actually mention Edinburgh in a little bit more depth, because I was talking to one of our listeners on Twitter. They've signed James Hilterbrand as a young front rower, and of course they've also before that signed Ollie Atkins and Grayson Hart. Grayson Hart, a good little scrum half, who's not a bad player. And I think he'll add a lot of spark. He's a really good nippy runner around the scrum base, so he's a good aggressive player, and I think that's going to be pretty good for Edinburgh. So it's some aggressive, I guess you had to do something at Edinburgh after last season, and I think that's an aggressive recruitment this year.
Yeah, look, they would have been disappointed with last year, but the previous season they went very well in the Heineken Cup, not so well in the Rabo, but did well in the Heineken Cup, and we're a little bit disappointed with how last year ended, that's for sure. And so they've made some changes. Solomons has come in. You can see that overall it's probably the higher echelons of Scottish rugby, looking around the world and scouring the place, New Zealand and Australia in particular at this stage, for people who are eligible to come to Scotland and play rugby there and be a chance of representing. So they've done that well. So the young lads that you just mentioned have been injected into the team, and it'd be great to see Edinburgh go well. You always like the big cities of each country, that their team to go well. It does give it gives an edge to a country when your capital's playing really well. So it'd be nice to see Edinburgh, push themselves into a strong position. Not at the expense of any of the Irish teams, mind you, but it'd be nice to see them pushing for higher honours anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's a big moment for the game. I mean, a couple of years away from the next World Cup in England, and I guess on the back of the Lions series, everyone's very happy that firstly the Lions product is well and truly alive. There's no doubt about that. Anyone who was thinking that it was a dead concept is kidding themselves or hasn't been around a series. It was just fantastic to see so many supporters come down, and the banter was fantastic. They could do with probably a couple of showers though, Les. I did see those red shirts being worn for a long, long time, over about 6 or 7 weeks.
No, I spoke to a lot of people. They had a magnificent time over there, and I think what James Horwell said at the end of that series in the podium in the middle of the stadium after he'd lost, he said it was a great thing for rugby in Australia. I think it was a great thing for rugby for the Lions. I always thought that they were always going to be something that's valid and relevant in the game, but to get the win up was good for them. But overall, I think it was great for Australian rugby to see that the Lions series be played there, and I know there's a lot of people spectators and fans that went over and just had a great time, and so there is that good feel factor about what the Lions have done, but as always happens, these things soon become forgotten, and it moves on when new competitions start, and the Rugby Championship's now the focus, and next week the Rabo and the Aviva start, so it's all happening again, mate.
Well, it means that we're going to have a really intense autumn series, don't you think?
Yes, I think so. There's I'd say from the Northern Hemisphere team's perspectives, there's a lot of hope about what's possible. Not that anyone never had hope before, but just to know that the Lions got up, you go there, you've got a chance now to go and play these great teams from the Southern Hemisphere and get out there and hopefully get something up against them, because they still are, I think, ranked 1, 2, 3 in the world. New Zealand, Australia, and although I think England have jumped ahead of Australia currently, so I'm sorry to mention that and disappoint some people there, but I think the 3 big nations from the south are always great to have up in the north.
Yeah, it's going to be terrific, and hopefully we get to see Ewan really stamp his authority on the team. He's done a great job with the sides he's coached before, and he's a guy who's willing to learn quickly about what he needs to do, and being a pragmatic coach, as we use that term all the time, but it's true, he knows how to play with the players that he's got. So he's not trying to make them play, the real annoying thing from a coach, he's not trying to make them play a game that they can't play. Yeah.
No, look, as I said earlier, it's it's going to improve the Wallaby setup without a doubt. I think we're going to see the Wallabies improve right through to the World Cup. But first things first, it's games in front of you here and now that matter. And I know Ewan will be taking that approach. And the thing that's in front of his nose at the moment is the Springboks, and he'll be wanting to get that right. But he's a guy that who's immaculate in how he plans a season, how he plans his team, how he plans his processes. And I think we'll see the team improve it. We've got them in the second game of our November series, and we know that it's going to be one hell of a battle, because we really do rate Australia. They're a good side. They're hard to play against because they're hard to analyse, and there's so many different types of players and the different styles they can play. So it's going to be a huge test for us when they come here, but it will be good to cross swords with length, that's for sure.
All right, Les. Well, it's been great crossing swords with you tonight, and to see Lockie streaming through the lounge there, the living room. And what's he played, mate?
I was going to say it's just after 10 p.m. here at school. He's back to school tomorrow, so he's going to bed a bit earlier than he usually does, which is a good young lad. So, but no, it's all going well here, mate. The family are good, and you know, it's been a fantastic summer here. I think I mentioned it last time, and everyone keeps saying it here in the Northern Hemisphere. The summer's been fantastic, and even though there has been a break and a lot of rugby around, I think people are looking forward to the competition starting again. So bring it on.
Well, Les, it's been great to catch up with you. It's been way too long, and you know, when we started RuggaMatrix, it's always wonderful that we could catch up with you guys, but now you and Ewan have just become like the world global leaders in coaching, and it's just so hard to grab you guys now, but we always appreciate it when we can.
Yeah, look, it's you know, you mentioned Ewan again there. I think it's been great. I think it'll be really good. He'll have a plan together, and he'll get a good, you know, he'll finalise his coaching squad if he hasn't already, and he'll get things to a place where it'll be right. I've got full faith that he'll do that, but it's not the best thing for the rest of the world, I can tell you.
All right, Les, mate, great to see you. And I'm just going to try and tidy up your hair there. I'm just touching the screen, just move that across. It just looks a bit...
Nothing wrong with my hair.
You know,
Yeah.
that's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of products you could use. So, mate, it's a really good setting. Well done. And, you know, we're now seeing you in 720p, so it's fantastic.
Does it make me look better or worse, mate? That's
You're looking sharp, mate. You're looking very, very sharp. So, just quickly, how's the setup? Because when we last spoke to you, you were head coach.
Yeah, it's going well. We went away and won 2 games in USA and Canada, and we're back on deck now, working with Joe. It's going fantastic. We've got John Plumtree from the Sharks,
Yes.
The Durban Sharks, who has joined us. He's expected here in the next few days, actually, to hit the ground and off and running with part of the coaching team there. So all exciting. Looking forward to it, mate, must say.
It's good. Yeah, good to see. And how's Joe to work with? Good?
Yeah, excellent. Well, we've known each other well. We've worked together before. So, you know, it's exciting times. We've got a good relationship. It's, you know, we're excited by the challenge ahead of us. It's not going to be easy, particularly when you come up against Samoa first. Struth, what a start. Then the Wallabies and then the All Blacks.
You're still throwing the Struth out there, mate.
Yeah, throw the Struth out there, particularly when you look at those 3 games you've got to come up against. It's, you know, we realise it's not an easy thing to say that you can actually go ahead and do a job on them. You have to really prepare well, and you know, Joe's got a great eye for detail, and I'm looking forward to the next period working with him, that's for sure.
Yeah, Joe Schmidt, of course. We can't assume that everyone knows everyone, but
yes, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, so Les Kiss coaching under Joe Schmidt, and obviously Kissy dominating in the USA. Was that a good experience, by the way?
Absolutely, it was brilliant. Yeah.
Did you see Bruce?
No, I spoke to
McLean.
Bruce, and yeah, I spoke to him, but I didn't get a chance to see him. But he seems well, and you know, Houston was a fantastic experience, as was Toronto. You know, 2 good cities, and I've been to Houston before with the Springboks when I was with them, but the Canadian experience was brilliant. Reminded me very much of Melbourne, Toronto. The trams in the street, etc. It was a great city, and got a chance to see the Niagara Falls. So a wonderful experience. But the most important thing is we won 2 out of 2, which was important for the green jersey to finish the year off well, and we did that. So it certainly made it a better summer overall.
All right, I can hear the printer going. Someone in the house is printing printing something. So it's early morning here, Les. We are living in a wonderful world. But great to see you, looking $1 million. Best to your family, and the best to you as we see the Premiership start, and then a Heineken Cup, of course, and then into the Autumn Series. Can't wait. The Autumn Series is going to be fantastic.
Oh, it's going to be brilliant, as the rest of the Rugby Championship. But they're great to catch up, mate, and hopefully we do it again shortly. Cheers, mate. Will
do. There he is, Les Kiss over my shoulder, the coach who is the bestest in the business, Les Kiss. All right, see you later, Les. That is it for RuggaMatrix International. Hope you enjoyed the program. Great to chat to Les about the global game. We'll be back next week as we head into the South Africa-Australia game, and of course the All Blacks taking on the Los Pumas. Until then, see you next week.